Okay, so we're gonna take a look at making character sheets in Roll20 right now. So when you go into a game as a player, then you'll probably see something like this. There might not be a token here for you, but you'll have your players, other people playing in this left side, and the chat bar and menus over here. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna go over here to the Journal tab, click on that, and hopefully your DM has added a character that you can edit and control over here. For this one, I've added a half-elf bard for myself to edit as the player. So you just go ahead and click on that. You can see it's blank right now. So the easiest way to do it is to go to the character sheet and then begin by using the Charactermancer. It's going to give you this nice little intro, yada yada, good stuff. Next. So this is where you're going to start looking at your other character sheet. Here's mine, the half-elf bard, level 2. So you're going to begin to put in the information from that sheet. As you can see, once you choose that, a bunch of other boxes will begin to appear. So these are sort of difficult at the moment to try and figure out exactly where you need to put them. The best thing to do is just to go at your character sheet and take a look in order where the effects are. So as a half-elf, I get Charisma +2. So you just go to this number, CHA, Charisma, 16, and we'll note that for later. And then we're just going to go to Strength and Dex as well. As a half-elf, you can immediately increase 2 of your attributes by 1, so we'll just pick Strength and Dex for the moment. Alignment, again, at the top of the character sheet over here, neutral good for this guy. Size and speed it automatically puts in for us. Skill proficiencies, you can just go down the line. So we go down here to proficiencies and skills. It says Arcana +3, Acrobatics +5. We've only got 2, so we'll do that right now. Acrobatics and Arcana. And then language proficiencies, same thing. So over here on this side, or actually up here, Halfling is my language. Common, Elvish, and Halfling. I've already got Common and Elvish, so we'll go over here and a Halfling. It also tells us about some good stuff we get, Dark Vision and Fey Ancestry, some nice traits that'll appear in the character sheet once we're done. Next we go to the class option. This is where we pick Bard. This is the half-elf Bard character after all. Gives us our information on weapon proficiency and armor, and then it gives us these skill proficiency choices again. Consult your character sheet. The next one is Deception, Insight, and Perception. Enter those. And additionally, we get some tool proficiencies as a bard. This is also listed here. Disguise Kit, Drum, Flute, Lute, and Shawm. Looks like we only get 3 though. So let's see what we got. We've got Drum, Lute, and Flute. We don't have the Disguise Kit, which was the first one here, so we'll have to add that later. Additionally, this tells us information about our spellcasting ability and our bardic inspiration ability, useful for later. It also tells you what sort of equipment we'd start out with, as picking the bard for our class. Next, we'll take a look at abilities. These are these scores up here. Go ahead and select Custom, and then you're just going to input all of the scores. So, remember these numbers we added? Here are the little nice bonuses, so we just have to make them match what they are over here. So that is for Strength, we'll put in 7. For Dexterity, we'll put in 15. Constitution, 14. Intelligence, 12. Wisdom, 10. And Charisma, 14. Now take a look at the top. 8, 16, 14, 12, 10, 16. 8, 16, 14, 12, 10, 16. Perfect. So we're good for that. Now that we've done that, we can move on to the next step, which is background. This is where things get really annoying. Typically, you're not going to have any access to anything too good here. You'll only have access to the Alkalite background at the moment. unless your DM feels like buying the player's handbook through Roll20, in which case you'll have some nice other options here. Unfortunately, I'm very cheap, so I don't have that. So I go to custom. Here you'll enter the background name as well as some other information about it. To find out your background name on the character sheet, you go over here, background. The bard's is entertainer, so we will enter that. Additionally, we'll notice proficiencies. As we remember before, we are down a tool proficiency, the disguise kit, as well as the shawm. So we'll go ahead and add those. The type of those are tools. Disguise kit. Add another one. Another tool. And we find the shawm. Next, we want to look at our other skill proficiencies. If we remember, perception was the last one that we increased, so we still have performance and persuasion to add as proficiencies. So we'll go ahead and do those now, choosing skill, and then performance first, and another one, skill, persuasion. Additionally, we look and see if there's any other skills or weapons or other proficiencies we might need to incorporate. Nothing else seems to be missing. So we move on to the next section, custom background features. The custom background features are here under the background section. In this case, the bard's is by popular demand. You can go ahead and select this in your PDF. Be careful to select the whole thing. Copy that and paste it over here. You can put the nice title up in the title part as well. Additionally, if you have more than one feature from your background, like he does, he has a faction feature. So we will also select that. And there we are. Next, we have personality traits, ideals, bonds, and flaws. These aren't necessarily important to some people, but they can really give you an idea of how the character is, especially since these characters weren't created by us. So, this bard's personality trait is he changes his mood or mind as quickly as he changes key in a song. So we'll copy that and paste that. And same thing for the ideals and bond and flaw. Again, you don't have to do these parts, but they definitely help if you're going to try and get into character. Next, we continue. Equipment. This is where things are difficult. We're going to have to add our equipment by hand, since normally our equipment would be given to us by our background. So we'll just choose class equipment for now. And we'll note that over in the equipment section down here, we have a rapier, studded leather, hand crossbow with 20 bolts, entertainer's pack, shawm, and 12 gold pieces. So we'll fill in some of that by choosing the rapier from here, entertainer's pack from here, and the shawm from here. In case you're wondering, a shawm is a horn type device. Alright, notice that equipment for background is empty. We're going to have to add that by hand later. Next, we get to the spells. You won't have this if you're not a spellcaster, so you can go ahead and skip this part. However, our bard is a spellcaster. So we go to his spells known, cantrips, minor illusion, and vicious mockery. So we find those here. Minor illusion and vicious mockery. These are great. It'll automatically put in all the information about it for us later. Next, we look at the level 1 spells. We've got 4 options here, but we've got 5 spells here. That could be a problem, but we'll deal with that later. First one is Charm Person, then Comprehend Languages, Dissonant Whispers, Fairy Fire, and Healing Word. Notice how we don't have Dissonant Whispers in that list. That's because Dissonant Whispers is a spell in the player's handbook, and right now, in Roll20, we only have access to the standard rules. So, again, we're going to have to add that later. Now we go to the Feats section. There'll be nothing here. Next, you can add to your bio, so you can change your character's name, age, height, weight, eyes, hair, skin, and all that good stuff. We'll leave that for now. Here you can see everything at the very end. It's warning us we haven't picked a personality trait because we only picked one of the two. Alright, now we'll apply. And here we are. It generates our sheet for us and gives us a number of things, but we're still missing some things. For starters, we're missing our gold. We had 12, but more importantly, we're missing some other abilities as well as some health. So we go to increase the level of the character sheet. To do that, you hit this little gear and then you hit Launch Level Plus Charactermancer. It'll bring you to this familiar screen, and we'll head to the next option. It tells you the HP you'll increase by and the number of levels you're increasing by. We'll just leave this as this for now. If we leave it as average, it'll bring us where we need. It also tells you about the 2 features that we're going to get by increasing our Bard to level 2. Additionally, if we go to next, it tells us a little more information about those. And finally, we can pick more spells. It tells us we could change out our cantrips or change out any of our other spells. Notice here, we still don't have Dissonant Whispers. Once again, it'll ask us to review. We hit apply. Now we're looking better, 17 HP. So, now we're going to go in and add the various gear and other things we have. So, this could take a while. Okay, so we've added those. Notice you can change the number of things you have on the left-hand side as well as add the weight on this right-hand side. Don't worry too much about that. Also, we're going to remove this leather armor since we have multiple. To do that, we click this lock, and we're just going to delete it. Relock that to be safe. Having stuttered leather armor changed our armor class up to 15, as we can see on our character sheet here under armor class. Next, we're going to want to add our spells. To look at your spells, click over here. Spells. Straightforward. Over here, we can click the Add button. We will do that. And we can enter the name of our spell, which we know is Dissonant Whispers. Now, this doesn't tell us anything about this spell, so we'll have to look up the information otherwise. To do this, contact me or someone with a player's handbook. I'll be using D&D Beyond for this. As you can see, we have the Dissonant Whisper spell here, so I'll just copy and paste the description. And edit this to attack. And change the damage type to 3d6 psychic damage. And note that it does an additional d6 of damage if you cast it at a higher level. And it is a wisdom save. And if you succeed on the wisdom save, you take half damage. And we'll go ahead and choose the School of Magic and the range, as well as all of the other fun little attributes here. And notice it's a verbal only spell, so we can go ahead and unselect these two. And notice the duration is instantaneous. Alright, now that we've entered some of our information about Dissonant Whispers, then we'll be able to close it up, just by hitting this little gear and then hitting this info button. We can see that it is here. Additionally, now's a good time to notice this slots total and slots remaining. You're going to want to increment this to be 3, since we haven't used any spell slots yet. Unfortunately, when you use a spell and cast it, it does not remove the number, so you'll have to keep track of that yourself. Now, if we go back over here, we can see all of our attacks here, except for the hand crossbow. So we will also add that. For this one, we can check on the sheet. Hand crossbow. Ranged weapon, attack +5 to hit, range 30, 120 feet, 1 target, hit 1d6 plus 3 piercing. Easy. Let's just copy all that over. This is a dex weapon, so we can change that to dex, and we are proficient with it. The range, 30, 120. Damage was 1d6 plus dex. And it's piercing damage, so we enter that in type. There's no second damage type, and there's no saving throw. We could add a description here, but we don't have to. Close the gear to save it. Now we have all of our possible weapons. This dagger is actually double, so we can delete that. These are all of the attacks we can use. Notice if we go over to chat and we click on Vicious Mockery, for example, we get this nice little box over here. Very useful. It tells you the damage you did, this one here, the name of the spell, the range, and what the DM has to do in order to not take that damage. This also works for weapons like the Rapier. Click on that, you get your 2 rolls here. The 2 numbers are for advantage or disadvantage on the roll. If you don't have either of those, just take the number on the left. If the DM tells you your roll hits, go ahead and click on this, and it'll tell you how much damage you did. Now that we've gotten that, eventually you'll get into combat, and it'll be time for you to roll initiative. In order to do that, the DM has hopefully set up a turn order for you somewhere on the screen. What you're going to want to do is click on your character token here, and then click on initiative. It'll add you to the turn order, making things simpler for the DM. If you don't do it right or they mess up, then don't worry about it too much. There's other ways for them to fix it and put you in there. Additionally, if you have a token, there's a number of good things you can do to help people around you be aware. The best thing to do, go into your little gear icon and go to your health section. I usually use bar 1 as health because it has this little heart. We'll put 17 out of 17. Hit enter, save changes, and it'll have this nice 17 in a green circle that we see, and this 17 out of 17 that our friends who are playing with us will see. If I take some damage, I just change here on 17 by however much damage I took. Easy enough. Additionally, if you suffer any status effects, those can be found here in some sort of small icon. So that's a pretty basic walkthrough of how to set up the character sheet in Roll20 and do a few things. Hopefully this has been a help.